Forgive me, I chose to stay with the president. Those were the last few words that I received in a text message from my husband on July 3rd, 2013, the day that brought turmoil to an entire nation and began my family's 3-year ordeal. His commitment to democracy and human rights for others came with a heavy price. 3 years of forced disappearance, solitary confinement, psychological torture, travel bans, frozen assets, and separation from his family. Assalamu alaikum, peace be with all of you, and good evening to all of you. I am here today amongst all of you, very happy to be here, to share with you some of my personal reflections from the last few years of my life. Not because they were the most horrific or significant relative to the thousands of people, some of who we've heard about today, who are suffering as we speak, but because it's a story of hope, faith in humanity, and community mobilization that changes what seems to be impossible. These are the lessons that made us stronger at the end, and the same lessons that inspired us to build the QEd Foundation. As a single mother of 4 young kids, I spent 10 traumatic months of fear, uncertainty, indescribable prison visits, unable to explain any of it to my very young children. In April 2014, as some of you might remember, I boarded an Air Canada flight back home to Canada with my 4 kids, all at the time under the age of 8, after deciding that this was the best decision for my children and there was no longer anything I could do in Egypt. On the 13-hour flight home, I remember realizing and thinking that I may never see Khaled again, and that it was only a matter of time before he would be added to Egypt's famous mass death sentence trials. I was losing hope and faith in humanity from the horrible injustice that I saw personally witnessed towards my own family and others, with very few people willing to provide any support. It wasn't until the next day after I arrived in Canada, where we drove with my brother Ahmed to Ottawa to visit a Canadian hero, the first time I met her, human rights activist and one of the most resilient women I have ever met, Monia Mazil. Her words of encouragement and hope revived in me the belief that there is something that I could do. I also arrived to a dedicated team of friends and family who had formed the Friends of Khaled campaign. With their support, their will, and their innovative ideas, and their perseverance to never take no for an answer, we began calling for the freedom of Khaled al-Qazaz. For a year, I interviewed with media, met many politicians from among the political spectrum, and traveled all over the world. I got messages and actions of support from people who I had never met, and some of which I haven't met until today. Thousands of Canadians signed petitions, mailed postcards, and made phone calls in the names of justice. Many of those who know me, many of you here today who grew up with me, know that I'm an introvert at heart, and that public speaking and media are not my career choices. But it was through the support and encouragement of those around me that I overcame unbelievable barriers to be here today with Khaled and with all of you. The truth is we had many setbacks, but they would always follow with many opportunities and what I called signs of hope and what I called miracles. But the greatest miracle that I believe came out of this campaign was seeing people of all backgrounds come together and demand justice. I witnessed the power of the people result in real change in front of my eyes. Canadians forced politicians of different stripes to unite, which in turn resulted in Khaled's situation improving, his subsequent release, and finally, our family returning to Canada last August. I remember many of the people in this room, including myself, said it would be impossible. Our story is living proof that Canadians believe in human rights above all. I remember a researcher from Amnesty International commented that the Free Khaled al-Qazaz campaign is the largest, most effective grassroots international campaign he had seen. I hope that our efforts will give our Canadian politicians an example to resolve other tragedies and eventually make human rights core to political policy. Many people ask me, what were the most significant or important lessons that you took away from the last couple of years of my life? The first is nothing is impossible. Number 2, with hardship always comes ease. And number 3, never underestimate the power of the community coming together to provide strength and support. As we finally started rebuilding our lives in the recent months, we can't help feel an overwhelming sense of gratitude to God and to all those who supported our cause. We also feel a huge sense of responsibility towards others in need. As a mother of young children, I can feel for a lot of the other women who are silently suffering. We have been given another chance of life, and we believe that it is our responsibility to help others. This is what brought to the birth of the foundation. Not only to help individuals and communities in need, but also to start by the families who are going through injustices. To be with those women, men, and children as they silently suffer, as many people stood by me. By bringing together our experiences of education, human rights, and community development, we want QEd to support, empower, and build communities, both in Canada and abroad. As I look at all of you today, I see many of the faces from our numerous rallies, press conferences, and events. Others in the room I have met today, but I know are dedicating their lives to help those in need. And as I reflect on the thousands of Canadians who supported my cause, I am here today on behalf of my family, myself, my husband, and my 4 young children, to say thank you. Thank you for caring, thank you for praying for us, and thank you for acting. I was that mother and that wife who had some very hopeless moments and who had cried herself to sleep many nights. It was my tremendous faith in God and all of you that gave me the spirit to get up each morning. I have learned from you so much, and for that I am thankful. Without any further ado, I would like to introduce my husband, Khaled, who will share with you the other side of the story, and who is the brain and the passion behind the foundation, and who teaches all of those, including myself, how to turn a horrible situation into something beautiful. Khaled,